Now, under normal circumstances, what I'm about to do should never, ever, ever be used on something like this that I'm about to read you. But it absolutely is qualified in this case, so I must do it. Another one bites the dust. What? Chicago taxi industry? Chicago. You know, like New York City, New York, Chicago. What? Chicago, Illinois. Taxi industry. In trouble? What the? What is this? It's not the retail apocalypse. It's not the auto industry apocalypse. Or the subprime borrower apocalypse. Auto industry included. Or the retail apocalypse. By Jeff Shirky in the In These Times site. Posted by Zero Hedge though. Cab drivers union. See my last video. Remember Reaganomics, unions crumbling, you know, because unions used to fetch a nice pay, you know, premium for their pay, you know, their salaries. And there's far less unions these days than there was in the 80s, especially after Reagan took over, because that was part of his policy and whatnot, and they started crumbling from that point forward. Thus, killing and gutting the middle class started then. But that was one of the things he talked about, unions. So, cab drivers union says Chicago taxi industry is near collapse. And I'm sure ye old competition such as Uber or Lyft isn't helping, but let's see what we got here, right? In addition to repaying loans on their medallions, taxi operators also have to pay thousands of dollars each year in city expenses, like the ground transportation tax and medallion license renewal fee, expenses that rideshare drivers are not subject to, such as Lyft, Uber, etc. Ghana-born John Akins has been a cab driver in Chicago for 20 years. About 15 years ago, he decided to go into business for himself by taking out a loan with his wife to purchase a medallion, a city-issued license to operate a taxi, for $70,000. Paying it off within a few years thanks to a steady stream of passengers. They took out a loan for a second medallion 5 years ago, using the first as collateral. Watching his medallions appreciate in value over the years, Akins planned to eventually sell or lease them to other drivers, a common practice in the industry. Quote, "I hoped it would be my retirement investment, and I had planned to retire this year," he told In These Times. But with the introduction of Uber and other rideshare companies to the city, which can operate without the expense or expensive city-issued medallions, Akins has seen his clientele plummet over the past 3 years, making it increasingly hard to keep up with his medallion loan payments. Across the city, the number of taxi rides dropped from 2.29 million in January 2014 to just 1.1 million in January 2017, according to a report released by Cab Drivers United, local union, of course. As a result, the average monthly income per medallion has fallen by $2,000 during the same time. It was $5,276. It is now $3,206, a 39% increase. Excuse me, did I say increase? 39% decrease. Getting to the end of last year, things had changed so drastically, Akins said. We just couldn't make it. After recently receiving a notice of foreclosure on his medallions, his retirement plans are now on hold. I can't resist, so I've got to do this. Medallions, Bitcoins, Ethereum, it kind of fits, no? Medallion coin, new medallion ICO coming out, you know. Sir, Whatever you have left, you're about to be foreclosed, put it in cryptos and ride that sucker faster than the people will ever be getting back in your cab again. You can maybe create a new coin called the medallion coin. Used to be backed by fictitious, nonsensical $70,000 fees from the city that is going to kill Chicago now because ain't no one going to want medallions, so they're not going to pay $70,000. Oh my goodness. Aikens is hardly alone. In the past 3 years, more than 1,300 taxi medallions in the city have either been surrendered to the city or put into foreclosure status. You can actually foreclose on a medallion, whatever, it's not a real like gem, you know what I mean? While another 100 or so are facing repossession through lawsuits by lenders, according to the CDU report. But everything's fine. Economy's doing great. Janet Yellen, we're hiking rates again. Economy's beautiful. Retail apocalypse, Miss Yellen, you want to focus? Nope, we don't see any retail apocalypse. But we're already at 300 something plus store closings. It's on record to be the worst year in the entire history of the country. Nope, we're good. How about the restaurant? Numbers are down, everything's sucking. No, you want to look at that? Nope. Like I said, the economy's great. 4.3% unemployment. Couldn't be better. Unless you're in Chicago. Nope, even them, they're good. Okay, she says they're fine. Everything's fine. We continue. This foreclosure crisis is hurting small family businesses most of all. CDU contends. Of the 6,999 taxi medallions in the city, 39% belong to small owner operators like Aikens who own 4 or fewer medallions. Quote, because of the misconception that the taxi industry is just big fleets, the fact that thousands of small businesses are disproportionately being hurt by this crisis is too often overlooked, said Tracy Abman, Associate Director of that local union. Council 31. The taxi industry is really about providing decent full-time jobs, or was, for drivers, she said. In addition to repaying loans on their medallions, taxi operators also have to pay thousands of dollars each year in city expenses like the ground transportation tax and medallion license renewal fee, expenses that rideshare drivers are not subject to. CDU says the number of rideshare vehicles in Chicago now exceeds 227,000, while 42% of the city's taxis didn't pick up a single passenger this March. 42% did not pick up a single passenger in March. Tell me that's wrong. Tell me I'm doing it wrong right now. Last summer, the City Council was poised to pass new regulations on rideshare companies, which CDU hoped would help create fairer competition. Well, CDU, I'm going to give you a line from my sister, Andrea. Nobody said life was fair. The original ordinance would have required fingerprint background checks on rideshare drivers and would have mandated that at least 5% of all rideshare vehicles be wheelchair accessible, rules comparable to those imposed on the taxi industry. After the last-minute intervention of Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Obama's right-hand man, however, a watered-down version of the ordinance was passed that removed the original provisions on fingerprinting and wheelchair accessibility, while the final version requires rideshare drivers to obtain special chauffeur licenses. It allows them to complete the necessary training online instead of through the expensive in-person classes taxi drivers must attend. Critics have accused Emanuel of being biased in favor of rideshare companies, particularly Uber. His brother, Ari, a Hollywood agent and the inspiration for Jeremy Piven's character on HBO's Entourage, is an Uber investor. Oh, and you thought see? Got it. One hand washes the other, baby. That's politics. And being that Rahm Emanuel was, Obama's right-hand man, there's some sneaky, shady crap somewhere, and there it is. Although the mayor's former chief of staff became an Uber executive not long after passage of last year's ordinance, it just gets better, doesn't it? Earlier this year, Emanuel's Obama administration colleague and former Uber executive David Plouffe was fined $90,000, no kidding, by the Chicago Board of Ethics after it was revealed he illegally lobbied the mayor on behalf of the rideshare giant in 2015. So there it was. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to fill your back pocket up with money. He did so illegally and got fined $90,000, which I'm sure is chump change for his new great salary he's earning. This is no different than what Wall Street, these banks do. We absolutely committed fraud, financial felonies. We just, okay, a little get out of jail fine, promised that we won't do it again, and everybody's happy. We got fined $500 million. Oh, big fine. They committed fraud on $5 billion. Fraudulent activities, money laundering, $5 billion came in. Pay us $500 million as a fine. Okay, won't do it again. With no help from the city, Akins turned to Cab Drivers United for assistance after receiving his foreclosure notice. Formed in 2014, CDU is a non-traditional union in that it does not bargain contracts, since labor laws classify taxi drivers as independent contractors rather than employees. Made up of hundreds of dues-paying members and a network of thousands of activists, CDU provides educational workshops for drivers, connects them to legal services, and organizes them to pressure lawmakers for fair treatment. Well, listen, when you got the Democrat, Rahm Emanuel, and you got the other guy, his brother, invested in Uber, and a guy that used to work for him, he's now on the executive board, and he campaigned illegally and gave him money. I wish you the best of luck with your little lawyer fees and workshops and what else? Pressuring lawmakers. The only way you're going to pressure the lawmakers is the same way they did that to you. You need to fill their back pockets with lots of money. And since you're a small fish, you're never going to come up with the money needed. They got bigger fish to fry. As in, we got bigger fish to get money from. So you see this at the federal level. You see it at the state level. You see it at the city and county level. All crap rolls downhill, doesn't it? Crap at the top, crap at the bottom. The best, folk, like George Carlin said, if you think it's going to get better, folks, I got news for you. This is it. It's not going to get any better. You think, you talk about the school system, it's not going to get any better. This is as good as it gets, folks. George Carlin. Man, I wish he was still alive these days. Boy, I love his comedy, his stand-ups. Boy, he was great. Furqan Mohammed, a private attorney whose firm partners with CDU, said he has talked with over 100 owner-operators like Akins facing foreclosure in recent months. Some of these drivers will owe upwards of $250,000 on these medallions, yet the underlying asset is worth maybe $50,000, if you can even find a willing buyer, he said. With CDU's help, Akins contacted an attorney who recently helped him file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in an effort to save his livelihood. Mohammed said his law firm is assisting many owner-operators to restructure their medallion loans, but he called it only a temporary solution. Longer term, CDU is calling on the city to ease the financial burdens of taxi drivers, including eliminating the medallion license renewal fee and waiving the ground transportation tax for struggling owner-operators. Well, the last thing Rahm Emanuel wants is for a competitive market to take over and beat up Uber. His brother's isn't a big investor. His right-hand man is now an executive at Uber. This is a mafia. The mafia is running your city. Oh no, the Al Capone days are over. That stuff's old now. No. There's a new type of mafia. They go into government positions. They go right into the government. Who's going to police the police, right? Who's going to police the police? Who's going to police the who's going to govern the government, right? The ground transportation tax, paid once every 2 years, is due at the end of June, this June. Akins said the tax for 2 years is about $2,000. It doesn't make any sense, he said. The city knows we don't have the money. Well, Mohammed, it's kind of, or Akins, it's kind of like when the banks screwed us all in our houses and destroyed the market and we all got crushed. The banks know we don't have the money and we're going to get foreclosed. Of course they do. And they're going to foreclose. Of course, the city knows you don't have the money and they don't care. If the city were to create a hardship waiver for the ground transportation tax literally in the next few weeks, that would send a signal to these small owner-operators that the city does care about them and is prepared to work on a more comprehensive package for reform, Mr. Abman said. Again, see my last response. The knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. Rahm Emanuel's connected to the brother bone. The brother bone's connected to the city guy, who got $90,000 fine, exactly. If relief is not provided in the coming weeks, we will see much more decimation of the industry, she warned. I thought it was a he. Time is of the essence. Yeah, listen. The city is not going to do anything because they're not going to create competition for themselves. When I say themselves, Rahm Emanuel, his brother, and the old city guy, that was his top guy, that's now an executive for Uber. Okay, they're not going to create competition for their investment. Less taxis, more money for Uber. Capiche? Or do I need to call my cousin Vinny and spell it out by breaking your legs? No, you get it. Plain and simple. This is mob mentality. This is mob practices 101. He should be arrested. Rahm Emanuel should be arrested for doing this. Nope. You guys voted him in, or were the votes rigged as usual? Doesn't matter. He's there. He's your boss. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Well, you can do like the rest of Illinois and move the hell out because the whole freaking state is bankrupt. Which also means, Rahm, I wish you all a lot of luck dealing with that. And you know what will probably happen? Rahm will say, my work here is done. I'm not going to run again. I'm out. And then maybe you have another mayor come in who undoes what Rahm did. So maybe Rahm may say, well, maybe I better not leave because I need to stand watch here. As soon as I'm removed, if someone else takes over, they're going to undo the stuff that I did. And they may even look at some of the shady dealings I did on the books that nobody knows about. Ooh, maybe Rahm will have to stick around. Well, we shall see. Take care.